The Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
Back in the playoffs. They're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Wild card weekend, Sunday. I think that this game is going to be good because I just think you have a team that's young, up and coming. You have a great defense. You have a young quarterback who's prone to mistakes, but also prone to amazing plays at the same time. You have a young head coach who came from basically the same coaching tree as a head coach last season who won the Super Bowl, and two teams that there's a lot of comparisons to each other when you're talking about the team last year with the Eagles and the Bears this year. I think there's a lot of compelling parts about that. But you also have a team in the Eagles who I am glad they made the playoffs because the Eagles are a lot more exciting, a lot more interesting than a team potentially like the Vikings who could have came in here and probably got their butt whooped by the Chicago Bears.
But we would have missed. We would have had some fantastic arguments about route running between Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen.
This is true. This is true. We're going to miss out on that. But I think the Chicago Bears and the Eagles is going to be a really close, grinded out football game. For you young fans out there, young NFL fans, you may not love this game, but I think there's some old school guys out there that are going to like it. I think weather could be a factor in this game. I think definitely that the line of scrimmage, whoever wins in the run game and gets a better pass rush is going to take this one. Who do you guys think is going to be able to establish their game plan better and take this game? Let's start off with Kevole. Do you think the favorite Bears, the biggest favorite of the weekend, are going to beat the dog mask, ski mask Eagles?
Well, this is Philadelphia Eagles facing Philadelphia Eagles 2.0 in a lot of ways, isn't it? There's so many similarities of what happened, how the Eagles got to where they did last year in the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, and the Bears here. And it's also really interesting because as much as people have been talking about Nick Foles, and they should, for sure, this guy has been balling for 400 yards last few games. Their defense has done a really good job. Their defense contained the Los Angeles Rams, so much so that the Rams actually decided that they needed to get another running back. They've done did very well against the Houston Texans for the most part. I'll get into a couple of those concerns. After that New Orleans Saints game where Carson Wentz overthrew everybody, the Saints, the Eagles kind of turned everything around. And it was interesting. Foles started spreading the ball around to Alshon Jeffrey, to Nelson. We heard Alshon Jeffrey's name. We heard Nelson Aguilar's name. You heard Darren Sproles' name. You heard Wendell Smallwood's name. And less Zach Ertz. Not that Zach Ertz is bad, but you could see that the Eagles' offense was starting to get a little bit more creative, and their defense was getting the job done. The Chicago Bears have been a very interesting story because at home, they are tough. They are vicious. They're tough to beat. At home, this is they're 80 almost. I'm going to use hyperbole. They're almost 86-ish. But on the roads, it's a very different team. I don't know what to make of the Bears because I don't know what I'm going to get from Mitch Trubisky one week or the other. And yes, they're a better team with Mitch Trubisky than they are with Chase Daniel. They have a good running combination in Howard and Cohen. Khalil Mack has changed how that defense is played. Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive coordinators in the game. But the trust of Trubisky is what I think is going to keep this game close and this magic of St. Nick. The problem with the Eagles is two things. I don't think the Eagles are going to be – the Eagles need to run the ball a lot more. And I understand that they got hurt, but you cannot have Deshaun Watson leading and rushing with 49 yards. You cannot – Nick Foles is not going to be throwing for 400 yards in this game. It's not happening. Nick Foles may not throw for 200 yards in this game. That's a reasonable thing to think. So – to me, this is where I'm concerned. I think that the Bears are more willing to play a low-scoring running game. I think that the Bears' defense has the ability to create takeaways and turnovers. Not that the Eagles don't. I know that they're doing their ski-mask thing, and they do that. But I trust the Bears' defense. I trust the Bears at home more than I do the Eagles. Wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win, but I think more things need to go right for the Eagles to win than the Bears to win. That's why I'm picking the Bears to win this game. Where the Bears are at this point in time, we'll get into that next week. I think they're close to the upper echelon. But I think ultimately they're a second tier team. But Trubisky needs to play well. Don't turn the ball over, create turnovers, make this your home game, keep this your home bar, and make Nick Foles and make that their running backs are too small anyway for the Eagles. Ultimately, that's why I look at the Bears to win this game.
I think it also depends on the Bears, how they play this week to ultimately decide where they're at going into next week. I think that's a big thing because we need to see this team actually play in the playoffs first before how much we know about them, going into LA next week if they were to win. Dylan, what do you think about this game? Do you agree mostly with Kevole, or are you going with the upset with the Eagles?
No, I mostly agree with what Kevole's saying, and I got the Bears winning this one. Again, this is another which team is better video that I'll be making. Mitch doing the AFC side, I'm doing the NFC side. Talent-wise, this is actually a pretty close matchup if you think about it. There's some pretty good players on both sides of the ball that make this intriguing for both teams. But I just think the Bears have been the more strong team, and they've been able to do this over the course of a full season. The Eagles have been doing this for a couple of weeks, and I think they just know coming in that this needs to be the game they need to win because they have to have their heads held up high in order to have a great matchup in the divisional round, which would be against the Rams, which they've already beaten this season. I'm not saying it would be easier, but in terms of the defensive side of the ball for the Bears, you know how strong they are. Their defensive line is very, very solid. Khalil Mack is coming in, Akeem Hicks. All these different guys are putting in the right time at the right moment, and they're absolutely crashing the line of scrimmage and making the plays that they want. Their linebacker crew is very solid. Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan. Then you got their secondary led by Eddie Jackson, who has been incredible this season, a guy that hasn't been talked about enough, but has done really, really solid for this defense and is the leader of that secondary. For their offense, Trubisky's been kind of a mixed bag for me, but he's been able to be the leader, the guy that they trust. Obviously, they moved up even one pick from third to second last year to go get this guy, and they trust him to lead them into situations like this to get these big-time dubs and go into next week. So, I mean, if he's the quarterback he needs to lead this week, and I think he will. The guy that I'm looking forward to on offense for the Bears is Tariq Cohen. I want to see what this guy is able to do against that Eagles defense. He has been tremendous at catching the ball. He doesn't rush a whole lot. It's more Jordan Howard's responsibility. But catching the ball, that's what Tariq Cohen does best, and I think he's going to do well in that. And the Bears receivers are, you got a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, who used to play for the Eagles, or used to play for the Bears a long time ago. You're going to see that this time around. But you also got Trey Burton on the offensive side for the Bears, who used to play for the Eagles. So that's an interesting kind of dynamic. For the Eagles, it's all about Big Dick Nick. You know him, Nick Foles. You know what he's going to do. He's very capable of leading these big-time situations and these huge upsets that nobody ever picks him to win. I don't know why. I don't know why he can't do this in the regular season, like week 1 or stuff like that when he's being asked to do so. But these big-time situations, when he's not favored, he knows how to come out there and throw these long dart balls to Alshon Jeffrey or Nelson Aguilar. Now he's got Golden Tate. It's pretty crazy. I want to see more of the run game, as Kevole brought up, because it's been non-existent. I like a guy like Josh Adams, but it's not really been there. I think that's going to be a huge weakness because they're going to have to rely on Nick Foles more than anything, and that's the biggest difference for me. Is Nick Foles going to be able to lead the spotlight with no run game against a great defense in the Bears? Like we saw, the Rams secondary can be taken away. The Texans secondary can be used a little bit. I'm talking about the Bears here. It's a different ball game, and I think the Bears are going to have the advantage and win this game. I'm going to go with the score of 31-20. I think it is going to be a solid Bears dub, and they'll be moving on to play the Rams.
High-scoring game. Wow.
Nice.
Okay. For me, I think I am also going with the Bears. Now, there's a couple things to get out of the way right off the bat. I do not believe in the Nick Foles Miracle 2.0, and there are 3 reasons why. Okay, you've brought up one of them, Dylan and Kev. They don't have the same run game. Their run game this year, I think it's 28th ranked. It's not very good. They don't get a great push against basically any team in the league, and they don't have a dynamic runner. The second thing is they're not at home. They won that first game against Atlanta because they were at home. I think if they would have played in Atlanta, honestly, Atlanta probably would have beat them. It came down to the last play, and a lot of things happened in that game, but that was last year. I think Philadelphia, not at home, big difference because there's just that underdog, that stadium, the weather, the field, everything about it, it factors into helping the Eagles. And the third thing is this game, they are not playing the Atlanta Falcons where they can overpower a team. They're not playing, the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing the Chicago Bears. They're playing in Chicago. They're playing against the best defense in the league. They're playing against a tough, physical, grinded out. This is a team that wants to play the way Philadelphia knows they need to play. Philadelphia knows they need to win this game 20-17. They're not going to win this game 30-27. And to me, the Bears want to play like that, and that's why I'm going with the Bears. The Bears are, of course, a great defense, but I think just on offense, they're a more balanced offense. I think they can hit some more plays down the field against the Eagles' 30-second pass defense. I think they can take advantage of those corners. And I think, like Dylan said, they have Jordan Howard, they have Tariq Cohen. The Eagles don't have anybody like that at running back. Zach Ertz, I think you brought up a good point. He's not really as involved with Nick Foles. I think a big reason for that actually is because the Eagles are taking more shots down the field. They're just not going with the 5-yard in route across the middle to Zach Ertz consistently. They're trying to hit shots, Nelson Aguilar. And they've played some pretty bad secondaries. They played the Rams, who gives up big plays. They played the Texans. They give up big plays. I just don't believe in the Nick Foles miracle this time around. And I think the Bears special teams are going to make 1 or 2 plays with Tariq Cohen and as a punt returner. I think overall the Bears defense too strong at home. It will be a muck-it-up sort of ball game. It will be low scoring in my opinion. I have it 20-13 for the Bears, but I'm the most confident in this game that the Bears will win out of all the other matchups. But I do still think it will be a touchdown game.